Hello, my name is Manuel Chávez. I'm from the Universidad de la Sierra Sur in Oaxaca, Mexico. And I'm going to present a paper or a part of a paper on biodiplomacy and the bioeconomic complexity of SARS-CoV and COVID knowledge commons. We have just 10 minutes, so I'm going to be brief. Uh, and well, I'm using the institutional analysis and development framework from Elinor Ostrom, and I'm going to be analyzing the situation of vaccine development, production, and trade. I'm not going to go into all the parts of the EAD framework. I'm going to just talk about the interaction among actors, some results, and the rules in use because it's a very extensive case, and we don't have enough time on this video to talk about biophysical characteristics and community attributes and all of that. But I'm going to talk about interaction among actors. So when we think on international trade, economists think on production possibility sets, used to think on that, and on a price relationship. On this case, I'm using two sectors. One is the vaccines or the pharmaceutical sector, and the other one is the ICT sectors. Both sectors are knowledge intensive, knowledge and information intensive. And one of the main assumptions that economists made using Heckscher-Ohlin models is the convexity of the production possibility set. So when the production possibility set is convex, it's a very common assumption, a neoclassical assumption. We can use this model to understand international trade, in this case between ICT and vaccine between two countries. So here we have the consumption of both goods, of vaccines and ICTs, and with the same price relations, we can find the production of both goods. So ceteris paribus, in this example, we can see an exportation of information and communication technologies, exportations that don't have to be physical, that can be also virtual, and we have importations of vaccines. Okay, but things become complex when we take away this assumption of convexity and we work with non-convex sets. In this case, I'm showing here a non-convex production possibility set. This is not anymore neoclassical economics. Okay, so when we have a non-convex production possibility set, instead of having, and this is still Heckscher-Ohlin, but without the convexity. So when that happens, depending on the price relationship, we'll find a corner solution. We'll find, and this is because we have increasing returns to scale. When the production possibility set is convex, we have a decreasing returns to scale, the classical or neoclassical assumption. But when we have a non-convex production possibility set, we have increasing returns to scale. So the solution that is shown by the model is a corner solution in which the economy is going to specialize in only one of the two markets. In this case, in this example, I'm showing how with this price relationship, we have a specialization on information and communication technologies. and in consequence, we'll have large exportations. We will have a large production of goods from the information and communication technology sector, but we'll have zero production from vaccines or from the pharmaceutical sector. This can be useful to understand why we have a boom on the internet, and how Amazon and Facebook and Google are having such a big time, while we are struggling to have vaccines, and to get vaccines all over the world, and how the SARS-CoV virus took us for surprise. So my hypothesis is, or the way I'm trying to explain this, is saying that we have increasing returns to scale, at least in ICT, but also in pharmaceuticals. I think we can have increasing returns to scale, and that makes a corner solution where we have a large production and exportation of ICT and zero or none vaccines production, so we'll have in theory to import our vaccines. This is the case for many countries, including my country, Mexico, but even in the US or Europe have has struggled with the production of vaccines. So here we have how the production possibility frontier can be convex, and we have a non-convex production possibility set and frontier. Okay, and how one question is how we make this production possibility set more convex, or at least what to do when this is not convex. So this is the technical part. No? So what are the results? The results of having increasing returns to scale are at least those three. We have a lack of research and development on vaccines. Even in the vaccines, all the vaccines that we are looking now, that we are seeing against COVID and against SARS-CoV, well, they are on an experimental they're still on an experimental phase, and they appear just because the pandemic has been so long. So we have a lack of research and development on vaccines and on infection diseases. We have a deficit and eventual overshooting on inventories. I'm sure we're going to see an overshooting on inventories of these vaccines. And we have power broken by powerful countries. So far, we have seen some goodwill from different countries, from powerful countries, in terms of sharing some of their production of vaccines, but we are starting to think that we need the formulas, not just the manufacturing, but the knowledge of it. And there's a discussion about intellectual property rights, but this could also be used as a power leverage of who has the vaccine and who has not the vaccine. So, what are the rules in use that are important? I identify at least two. One are the intellectual property rights, WIPO and WTO, all the TRIPS discussions, all that agreements, international agreements on intellectual property rights, that by now we have to think if it's the best way to address a global emergency like the one we are seeing. And the second one is the international law on biological warfare, the Biological Weapon Convention, or Biological and Toxin Weapon Conventions. These conventions bans biological and toxin weapons by prohibiting their development, production, acquisition, transfer, stockpiling, and use, but says nothing about about a passive. Uh, a passive biological warfare. It may sound very uh, very perverse, but but we don't we didn't at least I want to think that we didn't produce SARS, we didn't produce the coronavirus. So and of course to produce this kind of virus or develop this kind of virus for warfare is banned at the international level. But once it's appear and we produce the vaccines, not to share the vaccine could be used like a weapon, and the international legal framework as is written right now says nothing about it. It just talks about banning the production of biological warfare, but says nothing about not sharing vaccines, for instance. Okay, so what do we need? We need to change these rules in use, and we need an international treaty on prevention, surveillance, control, and attention of infectious diseases. We need a treaty that address directly emerging infectious diseases, a multilateral treaty that address the problem of intellectual property rights and research and development, maybe thinking on a public entity that do this research, or public entities that do this research, and also that address the problem of not sharing vaccines. Something that is not addressed by international law on biological weapons. So this is my presentation. I guess I'm still on time. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you for questions.